Gayle King, famous journalist, best-selling author, and best friend of Oprah, was glowing at a star-studded premiere in New York City of a powerful documentary about Celine Dion and her battle with a rare neurological disorder. As Gayle posed for pictures, fans weren't just talking about the film or her beautiful outfit, they were also talking about she wasn't ready to answer questions about her dramatic weight loss. But she did look beautiful with her hair styled in soft waves, her gold heels shining, her skin glowing, and her makeup flawless. But the conversation online was about something else. Was it OIZ or another weight loss drug like the one her longtime best friend Oprah recently admitted to using? Gayle hadn't said a word about the rumors, but her silence only fed them, and for someone who had spent decades being so private, Gayle was very open and willing to talk about anything, from politics to pain. When she wasn't talking, people started to notice something was off. She had just been on the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition at age 69, which is usually when broadcasters start to think about slowing down, not striking poses in swimsuits. Gayle joked about the shoot, saying she had a cheeseburger before posing and asked for tasteful cleavage, but she didn't say why this change seemed so sudden. All at once, she admitted that she had been working out 5 to 6 days a week and that she felt better than ever. But others weren't so sure because something felt different, both physically and emotionally. Behind the confident smile and positive tone, there was something more delicate and personal. Then there were Gayle's words on mental health. In May 2022, she wrote a deeply personal piece about how important it was to talk openly about mental health every day, not just during Mental Health Awareness Month. She talked about suicide, loss, and how a pretty face doesn't always mean someone is okay. Thinking about Cheslie Kryss's death was especially disturbing. The former Miss USA had killed herself even though she seemed to have everything. Gayle had talked to Cheslie's mother and told her the part of the story that stuck with her the most. Cheslie had left a note telling her mother, "You didn't do anything wrong, in fact, you did everything right." That broke something in Gayle, because when she told that to her, she talked about how people can be hurting even when they're smiling, how we're all just one bad moment away from breaking, and how hard it is to talk about that kind of pain for someone who is always smiling on TV. That level of raw honesty was unusual, and it made people wonder if Gayle herself was going through something she wasn't telling them. Later that year, she said that her longtime friend Oprah had been hospitalized after a severe stomach illness that caused Gayle said she hoped Oprah wouldn't be mad at her for sharing such a personal detail. But what she didn't say out loud was how shaken she looked as she said it. Fans noticed that maybe health had become a more serious conversation than anyone knew. Soon after, Gayle started skipping events and was seen less often outside of work. When she did show up, the difference in her appearance was more noticeable. Her CBS coworkers praised her for her fitness and discipline, but she laughed it off. By early 2024, though, people close to her could tell that something had changed again. She seemed more thoughtful and measured on air, and at one point she talked about her fear that people aren't always ready to talk about their pain, especially in public roles. She didn't say she was struggling, but her tone made it clear that she was. It was at this point that rumors began to spread behind the scenes, not from tabloids or fans, but from people who worked with her and noticed. She was taking longer breaks between segments, walking more slowly, and feeling pain when she stood up. Then it happened. She took a few days off from CBS mornings, which was something she almost never did. The network said it was planned time, but people close to the production said it wasn't. One producer said she had broken down in tears during a commercial break days before, and another said Gayle had just received unexpected medical news that she wasn't ready to share with the public yet. The silence from Gayle and the network was deafening, and when she came back to the show, something had changed. She looked determined to smile through it, but even her most loyal viewers could tell there was something else going on behind that smile. Then came the surprise. Sources close to her said she had recently been diagnosed with a serious but undisclosed health condition that required immediate lifestyle changes, made her rethink everything, including her schedule, diet, and future, and made her step back. Gayle King wasn't going through any of it by herself. Behind the scenes of every professional leap, personal pivot, viral interview, or public rumor was Oprah Winfrey, her steady partner of nearly 5 decades. Their friendship didn't blossom on red carpets or during media galas. It began in the trenches of local news long before either one became a household name. Gayle started working as a production assistant at WizTV in Baltimore in 1976. She ran scripts and did dirty work behind the cameras. Oprah, who was only a few years older, was already famous as a news anchor for the same station. That small newsroom in Baltimore became the start of one of the most famous friendships in television history. They became closer not through fame or spotlight, but through late-night chats, sleepovers during snowstorms, and a bond based on mutual respect. Gayle would later train as a reporter at W. Gayle started her career in Chicago with the Oprah Winfrey Show and quickly rose to fame around the world. When Oprah started the Oprah magazine in 1999, she hired Gayle as an editor. When Gayle's talk show on OWN ended in 2011, Oprah was there for her when she started working as a national morning TV host for CBS. Over the years, they shared more than just career milestones. They went through divorces and defended each other from accusations. During very personal losses, Gayle's daughter Kirby and son Will grew up knowing Oprah as a second mother, while Gayle remained Oprah's emotional anchor when she wasn't in the spotlight. The world never stopped wondering if they were more than friends. Some asked questions that were inappropriate. Oprah addressed the rumors directly in a 2010 interview with Barbara Walters, calling Gayle the sister she never had and the friend everyone deserves. They didn't need labels or approval. Their friendship was built on trust, not titles. When Gayle shocked everyone with her dramatic weight loss in 2024, fans talked about OIC and other Hollywood quick fixes, but few knew what was really going on behind the polished CBS desk. Or a health problem, a change in routine, a new reality, and Gayle didn't want pity, she wanted space. They were still going to galas together, walking the red carpet together, and finishing each other's sentences in interview VI, but something was different. There was a protectiveness in Oprah's eyes and hesitancy in Gayle's voice. In June 2024, Oprah was rushed to the emergency room with a stomach virus that left her severely dehydrated. Gayle was the one who told everyone. She did it carefully but honestly. She said it had been serious and Oprah needed rest. Many people who watched that moment saw it for what it was, a friend watching another friend go through something vulnerable and scary. But what most people didn't realize was that Gayle wasn't just talking about Oprah, she was talking about both of them. That moment changed everything, because while Oprah was in the emergency room, Gayle was quietly dealing with something just as important that would affect not only her health but also her future at CBS. Around the same time that the network made the controversial decision to move CBS for most anchors, moving from the show's fancy Times Square studio to a less fancy space on Manhattan's West Side might have just been a change of scenery. But for Gayle, it felt like a slap in the face. She had signed a one-year extension, agreeing to stay through another rough season of network changes and corporate budget cuts. But no one told her about the downgrade. No one told her that her fancy office, the one she'd spent years making into a professional sanctuary, was going away, and she was furious. It wasn't because she was being petty, but after all she had done for CBS, including holding the network together through scandals, reorganizations, and national tragedies, they hadn't even told her about it. Behind the scenes, she let them know she wasn't going to be pushed to the back of the studio. She had earned every inch of respect and had Oprah in her corner. Sources close to both women said Gayle made it clear that if CBS wanted her to stay, they had to treat her well. Oprah often said that Gayle was happier for her success than for her own, and Gayle had always said that Oprah was the most generous person she'd ever known. When Oprah started her own network, Dot brought Gayle along, and when Gayle needed room to grow at CBS, Oprah cheered from the sidelines. When rumors about their relationship spread, even when things went badly, like when Gayle's former co-anchor Charlie Rose was involved in a scandal, or when Oprah was criticized for her interview with Lisa Leslie on Kobe Bryant's legacy, she didn't back down. She joked about it, set the record straight, and reminded everyone that a true friendship doesn't need an explanation. Gayle returned Oprah's loyalty with grace, humor, and a relentless work ethic that kept her at the top of her game. Game for decades, but Oprah had hints that things might be changing. Gayle was also thinking about it as time went on. Health had a funny way of bringing things into focus, not just the pain or the diagnosis, but also the legacy, the time left, the moments that still mattered to Dot, and Gayle had to face a truth she could no longer avoid, even as she smiled through the headlines and wore gold heels and designer clutches. Her body was telling her something, and her future was waiting. For once, she had to decide if she wanted to leave CBS. It meant taking a step back or finally starting a new chapter that wasn't based on deadlines, ratings, or morning call times. CBS wasn't making that choice easy. Ratings were still behind. ABC and NBC executives were scrambling to cut $500 million in costs. And morale in the newsroom had hit an all-time low as coworkers talked about leaving because they didn't know who might be next. But even with all of that, Gayle King managed to stay in the spotlight, not with another exclusive interview or a tear-jerking story. It happened live on air during a casual segment with podcast powerhouse Alex Cooper. Cooper was known for asking guests tough, often uncomfortable questions on call, but Gayle decided to flip the script with her trademark mix of confidence and curiosity. She caught the whole set off guard by asking Cooper a sexual question about her marriage. The question was so out of the blue that even the producers tried to cut her off through the earpieces, but Gayle wasn't just trying to cause trouble. She was making a point. She wanted to show that this was the kind of stuff that made people connect with honest, bold, and unpredictable. If the network needed a reminder of her range, she gave it right then and there. Gayle could go from a serious political interview to lighthearted banter without missing a beat. That moment with Cooper wasn't a mistake. It was her showing yet again that she knew how to make TV that people couldn't stop talking about. But even as she joked and smiled through segments, big changes were happening. While Gayle was still hosting her show every morning, she was also getting ready for a trip unlike any she had ever taken before. This spring, Gayle King will be launching into space as part of Blue Origin's first all-female crew. She will be joined by pop star Katy Perry, journalist Lauren Sanchez, NASA scientist Aisha, civil rights activist Amanda Anduan, and producer Corinne Flynn. The mission, called NS-31, will go beyond the Kármán Line 62 mi above Earth. Ascending at more than 3 times the speed of sound, they'll unbuckle their seats and float weightlessly for a few minutes before coming back to Earth. The importance of this flight cannot be overstated, not since Valentina Tennant's solo mission in 1963 has an all-female crew attempted something so daring. For Gayle, the experience is more than a scientific milestone. After decades of reporting on stories from every angle, she now gets to see them for herself. Gayle has been on a lot of adventures, but they haven't just been galactic. Her personal life has also been full of emotional highs. A few months ago, her son William Bumpus Jr., now 37, married Elise Smith in an unforgettable ceremony at Oprah Winfrey's house. Gayle has always called Will her favorite son because he's her only child, and she hasn't hidden how happy she is about her new husband. The couple met on the 2nd of the month, got engaged on the 2nd of the month, and got married on June 2nd. Gayle told the whole story on air, beaming with pride as photos played on the screen. Oprah was there, of course, offering her home for the ceremony and joking with Gayle about how cheap her venue prices were. The setting was beautiful, but what touched Gayle the most was when her son said, "I know the family that lives there." She said it gave her chills to see her kids start their own families while she continued to explore new areas of her life. But even with all of these career highlights, family milestones, and soon-to-be space adventures, there was still a cloud over Gayle's future. Something had changed. The diagnosis she got earlier this year may not have been widely known, but it caused a change in her thinking. Gayle King rethought her role in the daily broadcast world because of instability and her desire to spend more time with her growing family. She may not have quit all of media, but she may have quit the daily grind because of its relentless schedule and pressure to boost ratings, which wasn't her fault. When the whispers started, people didn't want to believe that Gayle King was leaving. She had been the steady presence every morning for more than a decade, the calm in the storm. A voice that could talk to leaders and pop stars at the same time. But Gayle is a unique woman who says goodbye in her own unique way. She's not disappearing from public life. Instead, she's changing careers from news anchor to space traveler and from reporter to proud mother-in-law. She's been asking hard questions and finally answering one for herself. What kind of life does she want now? One with less noise and more meaning, one that still allows her to be healthy and free to take risks, one with less noise and more meaning, one that's still millions, but it doesn't have to happen before sunrise anymore. As Gayle gets ready to float through space, laugh with her daughter-in-law, celebrate her son's milestone, and maybe close the chapter on CBS mornings, she shows everyone that reinvention isn't a setback, it's the reward. And maybe that's what this moment is all about. Her decision to say goodbye isn't about leaving something broken behind, but about welcoming something bigger, lighter, that she can finally breathe.